You may have heard of debt recycling before. Now, this can be an incredibly powerful tool if you're planning to return to Australia or you're already living in Australia and looking to ways to really magnify your returns, optimize your financial position, and convert your non-deductible debt into deductible debt. Hi there, I'm Jared Brown, Australian expat financial planner here in Singapore, helping Australians here and all over the world master their money. In today's video, we're talking about debt recycling. What is it? Why you should consider it? What are the benefits of debt recycling? And of course, some practical examples of how it can work. Now, let's start with basics and what is debt recycling and who could it be suitable for? Now, debt recycling from an overarching standpoint is really just the process of converting your non-deductible debt. Now, by non-deductible, I mean non-tax deductible debt in Australia. So think of the mortgage on the home that you live in. It is not deductible because you live in that property. It's not generating any rental income and therefore is non-deductible. So we're converting that debt into deductible debt. That means that you can claim the interest and expenses of that debt on your tax return and reduce your tax. Now, how does it actually work in practice? Well, in practice, what it means is that you are making additional repayments into your home loan and at the same time withdrawing those funds from a separate facility or from a loan account established against that property and investing those funds for tax deductible purposes. Now, to be tax deductible, that money would go usually into shares, managed funds, ETFs, or even into an investment property. But in this example, we'll just look at a process of constructing a share portfolio or ETFs using that money through the process called debt recycling. So let's start with what are the key benefits of debt recycling and why you should think about it in the first place. Now, the first key benefit of debt recycling is simply building your overall wealth. It is using those funds from your mortgage to actually build a portfolio of shares, of ETFs, to generate higher growth or at least target a higher rate of return than you're going to generate with cash in the bank. So that's number one, really getting your money to work for you. Number two is the flexibility. By investing in shares or managed funds or ETFs, it's liquid. They're usually tradable at a moment's notice. Obviously, when the market's open, you can trade portions of it. You don't need to sell an entire property. You don't need to obviously sell a commercial building. You can just sell a handful of shares if you need that money. And of course, it allows you to track the performance on a regular basis, and you can make ad hoc top-ups on a regular basis should you need to. So that's number two, the flexibility of the process. Number three is the tax benefits. Ultimately, we are converting the mortgage on our home from being non-deductible to being deductible by simply putting the money into our mortgage, taking it back out, and then using those funds for tax-deductible purposes, i.e. putting into an investment portfolio for us. And number four is it is a process and a strategy that allows you to be consistent over time. It will often avoid margin calls because you're utilizing the funds from your mortgage rather than setting up a margin loan, and it allows you to do this every week, every month, every pay cycle, and on and on and on as you continue to pay down your mortgage. And of course, the other benefit of that consistency is we are paying down our mortgage faster and we are reducing our interest expense. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of why you should be thinking about debt recycling, who it could be suitable for. So let's dive into a real-world example and consider what these benefits actually look like over time. So let's have a look at a real example. Let's just say that I'm living, working in Australia and earning a salary of $200,000 in Australia. So that puts me into the top marginal tax bracket and I'm losing or paying 47 cents in the dollar. Ouch. But what if there was a way that I could reduce that? Enter debt recycling. Now, ordinarily, if I'm not using debt recycling, let's just say I take $150,000, I go and buy a portfolio of shares in Australia, and that's going to generate me a return in two ways: capital growth and dividends. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that my 150 generates me a 3% dividend each year in addition to some capital growth. Now that 3% dividend is $4,500, on which I pay tax at my 47%. So $2,000 odd is gone in tax. No tax benefits, no tax deductions, but that is now gone. So my net return on the dividend portion is around $2,475 odd. Not awful, but we could be doing a lot better. Now, what if instead we put that 150 into our mortgage as additional repayments, we withdrew it as equity, we go and invest that money in our portfolio of shares. Now we're getting our same dividends at $4,500, we're still paying our $2,000 odd in tax, but now we've got the interest on that 150 that is fully tax deductible. So if that's, let's say, 6% in interest that I paid on that $150,000, we can quickly work out that's going to create a significant deduction each and every year that those funds are invested. So that allows me to repay the loan faster because of those additional deductions that I'm creating. So again, we've converted that 150 from being non-deductible to now being deductible interest. Now, obviously, every year that occurs, that continues to compound. So let's just use some nice simple numbers. Let's say I invest $100,000 and I'm paying 6% interest on that money. That's $6,000 each and every year in interest that I'm paying and can now claim as a tax deduction. So on that $6,000, I'm getting my 47 odd cents back in the dollar, close enough to $3,000 odd a year. And if I do that over 10 years, we can quickly see how this compounds year on year on year. My portfolio continues to grow in the form of dividends and capital growth. I'm generating the tax deductions on the interest because I'm utilizing funds from my mortgage to go and buy that portfolio of shares. I'm avoiding margin calls because, again, we're utilizing our mortgage or our home as security. We're not utilizing, a margin loan facility, which can often be at a much higher rate and much more risky, and we're building our wealth over time. Now, again, it's important to consider, if this strategy is right for you, make sure you're not taking on risk that is not suitable for your own investment goals, and make sure that you do have time on your side for this strategy to really work its magic. But if you're an Australian expat and you're thinking of moving back to Australia, don't ignore the power of debt recycling. If you've got a large amount of equity built up in your home, you want to be putting that money to work, aggressively pay down your debt and optimize our tax, debt recycling could be a powerful tool. If you have any questions at all, drop me a note in the comments. Feel free to reach out directly, but I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.